This is Mama Moody, aka DelleGrazie, and you are listening to the Matt Balaker podcast.
Hi, good people. Thank you once again for tuning in to the Matt Balaker podcast. Today's guest is one of my favorite humans. She's a hilarious comic. She can walk into a glass door without flinching, and she hosts a new podcast called From Chaos to Country. Please welcome DelleGrazie to the show. How you doing, Ro?
I'm good. I love that you remember that face smash that I took at my 27th birthday.
Yeah, and you took it like a champ. I mean, maybe there was some alcohol involved. We don't have to get into the details, but I remember your sister was there and a lot of other people, and you were like a bird. You walked right into that and you just turned around and smiled. And I was like, well, Ro's a badass.
And then several people, we decided to open the door because several more people walked into it, if I remember correctly.
I probably did too. I'm just trying to point the finger at others so it doesn't turn back on myself. So that was, I think, at your Studio City place. That was a nice house.
That was actually not my place. That was a friend's place that
Oh,
she was renting in Sherman Oaks. Yeah.
oh, sure. Okay. See, I got to fact check my own program. But we met in the early 2000s. But I think you had just moved from
Mhm.
from New York City. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Long Island in a little town called Garden City Park, not Garden City. People hear it and they go, "Oh, Garden City," and I'm like, "No, that was the rich spot."
It's
No,
not Garden City. Okay.
Garden City Park. But if you know Long Island, you would know New Hyde Park, which is what I tell people because that's like the bigger city, I'll
Okay.
say.
I have family in Wantagh. What is
Oh,
bad about Wantagh? Like, what could I make fun of them about for being in Wantagh?
I mean, it's like that stop on the LIRR. Long Island. For people that don't know, it's the Long Island Railroad, and it's like, oh, you're going to Wantagh. Wantagh was by like Seaford and Oyster Bay and Merrick, and that's kind of where we would go to do acid.
So Wantagh is the acid center of Long Island. So
Probably not the center, but definitely I've done acid near Wantagh.
my cousin will be very proud of that. I think she'll make a t-shirt
Definitely
celebrating.
after she definitely probably drank Zima at some point in
Oh
her life,
yeah.
for sure.
I I drank. No 90s kid didn't drink Zima. Let's be real.
I mean, if you
Uh,
didn't drink Zima, you did not, then I don't believe you grew up in the 90s.
so aside from acid and Zima, what are some of the more core memories from your childhood? Like what sticks out?
Goldschlager, does that count? No,
Oh God,
I'm
yeah.
kidding, kidding.
Jägermeister. This is a bad high school trip.
Oh God. No, you know what? Growing up in Long Island, actually, I'm glad I grew up in New York. I well, I mean, I'm not going back to New York, but I'm glad I grew up in New York. And I think it kind of, here's the thing. I grew up in the 80s and 90s where we were left alone to our own devices. We literally were that last generation that we didn't have cell phones. Thank God we
Thank
did
God.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you God
I
that
think I was 23 when I got a cell phone, but go
yeah.
go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, I have some VHSs, but I can easily rip out the tape and there's no proof of anything, right?
Amen.
Um, there's just memories of people and we don't trust those, right? And so I'm just glad that I didn't grow up in that. I mean, look, I could also say, man, everybody that's coming up in comedy has it so lucky because they have all these devices. And I'm like, well, also, yes and no, right?
Yeah.
So, I had a really like we literally walked everywhere. We all hung out. We all either rode bikes when we got older. We walked. We had a great. Not that it didn't have its things, because I mean I grew up in a kind of chaotic home in some like ways. My parents like my dad will always be like, we stayed married for you guys. I'm like, I
Is
shouldn't
that
have.
a good thing?
I shouldn't. No, no kid that's like has parents that like we stayed together for the kids has said, "Oh yeah, because it was so serene and peaceful." And then what? You guys are getting divorced? Like, no shit, you're getting divorced. You should have gotten divorced decades ago, right? Anyway, that being said, um, I knew how to hustle pretty much because I grew up in a very like you got to work, you got to. So I had a very good ethic going into when I got, into entertainment, So I did I will say I was in drama and the only subject that I got 100 in was like drama.
Wow.
And literally, I don't know how charming it is to have Long Island kids, high school kids doing Midsummer Night's Dream by Shakespeare, but it was I was like, "Whither wander you?" Like, so that was fun too to be part of the drama club.
Yeah, I mean, lots of people in comedy start in drama, but when did you kind of make the shift? You decided not to be such a serious actor and
It's
pick up a mic
oh
and tell dick jokes.
God, was it community college and failing those courses, or was it trying to do acting class at HB Studios and realizing I'm not really good at that? I will. Okay, so this is what I discovered. I did a thing like there's this big convention that they did in New York that was all it was probably a little scammy. Well, you paid a lot of money and you like showcase in front of actors and agents, right?
It's like a comedy festival. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, no, a little scammy, right? I love them, but a little scammy, right? So, when I went in there, I did a monologue about kids dying in a fire that was supposed to be this dramatic, sad monologue. And my sister had already done this monologue that had people crying. So I was like, now it's my turn.
Yeah,
Um, kids dying in a fire. And people were laughing. And that wasn't the reaction that I was going for. I was like,
probably not.
that wasn't it. And then the management agency that I remember the guy's like, you're kind of like a character. I'm like, really? Really, Ed? I'm a character? Really? You can't walk without crutches. Why don't you calm down? Okay. Anyway, I figured maybe I should try stand up. And I had no idea even what to do. I was just like, my sister wanted to do stand up. I thought she was crazy, but maybe I should try it. And so I looked up like a seminar and found the New York Comedy Club. This was in 99. And I was like, I'm gonna take this class. And I had already had like a failed audition for like the Chris Rock show because he did like a cattle call for the Chris Rock show. And I was like, I should take a class in comedy. And I took this class. Al Martin, rest in peace, he just passed away. The first class, he literally complained about comedy and how shitty it was.
So he was a legit comic. Yeah,
Legit comedy club owner. He's like, comedy's gone down to shit. In 99, he was
in
complaining about
'99. Yeah.
how it was saturated, right? And then the second week I got on stage and I was like, hey, here's my jokes. And I think he gave me notes. I don't even know. And then the third week was a show. That was it.
Well, thrown into the fire
Oh
where
yeah.
kids are dying and people are laughing. Uh, so, what was your exposure or your interest in comedy up until this point? Like, I think it's kind of unusual for someone to say, "All right, I'm going to take a stand-up class."
Yeah, no, I didn't have any. I didn't know. I didn't like have any comedy heroes. I think I saw Paula Poundstone special and I liked it.
Hmm.
Uh, I saw Richard Lewis, I think one of his specials on Comedy Central. I saw some Comedy Central stuff, but
Hmm.
I like comedy movies, but otherwise that literally nothing. No, just like I should try this. I
So,
could get in the book.
what were either some of your first jokes or what was the material you drew from in those
Oh
three
my God.
weeks?
Oh my God. Being a waitress in like this classy restaurant and it was me.
Hmm.
Uh, oh my God, my first I actually have it because I was gonna show this was my first stand-up comedy notebook. DelleGrazie.
Wow, you saved it.
Yeah,
Wow.
I saved it. It's the one and my jokes, my set list is like it says it's all the pages are yellow. Liquor store slash fetus. Okay. Cockroaches that could kick my ass in Manhattan. Really original. Cox, because that's my mom's maiden name.
Oh, okay.
The family reunion, I'm surrounded by them. And oh, a movie, the movie Speed reference. Nobody would
I
know that now.
I still reference that, but
And it was just talking about my crazy family and waitressing.
Well, I mean, it shows you had good instincts because if you pull from real life, it's a lot harder to be derivative. I mean, people still can, but I mean, if
Mhm.
you're drawing from your own experiences, your material is going to be way more original than if you're just trying to be like a carbon copy of someone you like.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was definitely like I'm going to talk about what I know, which was waitressing and just like dealing with the like my whole poor attitude about it.
So you have one of my favorite jokes, and I'll be really uh, unprofessional and say the punchline is, uh, "So does that make you my boyfriend?" Um, can you kind of talk through that, or maybe like set up the
For sure.
story behind the joke because it's a great one, and I was always
Well,
curious, like what inspired you to write that one?
well, thank you, Maddie. I love that because what's so funny that while I was showing you that notebook, look what fell out. Remember Jay Leno stole
Oh
my
yeah,
joke.com? This bumper sticker fell out, isn't that? So, and that has something to do with the joke. Not that, well, that joke came from I think, you know what I used to do my material sometimes when I would talk to people, like my friends and stuff, and I would just make inappropriate jokes, and then that would make it into my act. And I think that was one of them where I was like, you want to know if somebody's coming at you and they're gonna try and attack you, you just go, so does this make you my boyfriend? And people, when I used to like do that to people, they were like, that is hilarious. So the joke is, I'm an expert in stopping sexual assaults. So if you're out and I said right before you get attacked, all you have to say is, so does this make you my boyfriend? And literally then that joke I used to do it, used to be my closer and all that. And then one night, I forget, like in 2008 maybe, somebody's like, Jay Leno just did your rape joke. And I'm like, what? And then I looked and the joke he did was, oh, you got to protect yourself. So if he did it in a way like if you're about to get attacked, all you say is, so where's this relationship going?
uh-huh.
So I was like, oh, maybe it was a really popular joke of mine. People loved it. People have been, maybe writers for Leno. So I started a whole Jay Leno stole my joke as a joke. And we
Yeah.
put bumper stickers everywhere and we put freeway signs out and we had a website and I did a video about
Wait,
it.
wait, you put freeway signs?
Oh yeah. Me me and Maria drove around the 101 one night and we got pulled over by the cops. Um, so yeah, we had to Maria was like, sorry, officer. My sister has always been the gorgeous sister, like, sorry, we didn't know we couldn't do that. He's
I'll
like,
bet my eyelashes.
oh yeah, yeah. She's like, Jay Leno stole my sister's joke, and she had this big freeway sign. He goes, get out of here.
So it's not like you paid 50 grand. I don't know what it cost to actually get an ad on the freeway.
We
You
risked
just
our
went rogue and did it. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, we sure did. And then we're like, oh man, that cop's gonna be really pissed when he gets off at the next exit because we actually got a sign on the next exit out. And we're like, if this cop gets off, he's gonna be like, these fucking girls.
Like we're gonna know the culprits. So did Jay Leno drive to your house to apologize or what? What?
No,
Did you hear from his people?
apparently word got out that I was doing this, and another comic who I won't mention was like, I think word has it he thinks you're crazy. I'm like, oh really? He thinks I'm crazy? Well, why don't you say it to my face, Jay Leno? Okay. And so I kept a bumper sticker in my car for every like if I was gonna run into him because he's all around the valley. And I remember years went by and the website went down, that kind of thing, no big deal. And then maybe like I want to say like, I don't know, like 8, 9, 10 years later, I remember driving down Laurel Canyon and there I saw him at the gas station. I was like, God damn it, I don't have my bumper sticker. And the
Yeah.
story's too old now. And I was like, oh, Leno. So yeah, I also got word that like Leno is great. People love Leno. He's all around. But I don't know if he finds stuff like this as funny as I thought it was.
He should.
So I don't know if he was like, I don't steal jokes. I'm like, okay, well, it's just
Well,
like,
the joke still holds up, and I think Jay Leno owes you residuals. But what motivated the move? Because we met in Los Angeles, and you weren't there that long, but you had the New York work ethic, which I always admired about you. But a lot of people move to LA, but a lot of people also move to New York for comedy. So what was it that made you
Yeah.
think, all right, I'm going to leave this hotbed of stand up to go
Well,
westward?
well, south southwest eastward.
Yeah.
Well, so when I moved from New York to LA, it was 2004, I was 26. And I was, to be honest, I was I was killing it in New York with spots. I mean, I had like 15 spots. I was doing great. I don't know why I left, but
Too much success. Yeah, you're like, I need to start anew.
way too great. Let me get out of
Yeah.
here. But at the time I was opening and working with Lisa Lampanelli, and
Mhm.
Lampanelli was like, "You got to get to LA because all the shows are there." Now, she was right. TV was kind of hot in LA. It wasn't like now TV, it's spread out, right?
Yeah.
So, but at the time when you thought about to get on TV, go to LA. And my sister lived here in LA, and my brother, and we had friends there. So it wasn't like, I was like, and I was 26. I was like, yeah, move to LA. That's what you do when you're 26. You're like, get up and move. And I remember like I had one of those moments that I was sitting at the restaurant. I worked at a restaurant. I was at the other restaurant sitting at the bar, and this dear woman that I've known for years, we all grew up together, and she looked at me, she looked at me, she goes, don't ever wonder what would have happened if you didn't move to LA. You moved to LA. And I was like, oh my God, Barbara said I should move to LA. I'm gonna move to LA. All right. And I
Barbara's
moved.
right.
Barbara was right. And to be honest, Maddie, it was great. I mean, I went and got a job right away. I went out to every show. I just did the old networking. Like I'd show up and be like, hey, I'm a comic from New York. And people were like, go on, get up on stage. Let's see what you got. So it was a different time back then too. Like people appreciated when you showed up. We didn't
Hmm.
have social media, like we had MySpace, but it wasn't like
Yeah.
the day. So you had to drive out to these places. I'd email people. I'd be like, "Hey, I'm gonna come check out your show." Blah blah blah. Met comics on the scene. I didn't have kids. I had all the energy in the world. Like,
Remember those days? Yeah.
right? Remember those? Remember when
Not
you like
really. I vaguely. People tell me about
remember
them. Yeah. Yeah.
remember when you like could just go to the store
Luxury.
and just that was it? Or you just fed yourself? Like you literally were like, I might be hungry. I think I'll eat. Like remember those days? So it was great to be in your 20s and I mean we were having a great time. Yeah, you were one of the people I met on the scene that we did the G-Man Freak Show.
Oh yeah, that was fun. And we did radio show. We did radio before it was like internet radio. I remember.
Yeah. Remember that?
Oh,
We
I
had a
do.
great time. I can't even put that on my resume because it was so long ago. Like, don't put that on your resume. You're like, okay. But literally, we had such a great time. And then I ended up meeting Chris because I got a loan from him at US Bank.
Yeah, you
And
did.
that's right. He saw my credit score. And he's like, I'm gonna date you. But that was in 2000. I met him in 2012. I started dating him in 2013. And literally like I'd already I felt like had a good 9 years here. So I was like in the
Yeah.
scene. I was really and then, actually it really what changed everything was when we had kids, and not even just having kids, but like after the pandemic when I was like, okay, I don't know if we're gonna have another shutdown again, but I
Right.
certainly need a yard and another bathroom. I cannot do this. Like things change when you have one bathroom and four people using it.
Yep.
Like severely, right? Like you're like when I had this moment where Chris was like, he said to Jacob, "Okay, I gotta use the bathroom," and Jacob was like, "Sorry, bro, I'm pooping," and he's like,
Yeah. Take a number.
"What?" Yeah, and he picked up like the travel potty that we had to keep and peed in it. I was like, we need to change. Like
Yeah.
this is not acceptable.
Well, how many
And
sinks did you have? I guess that's
yeah, well, yeah, we did have a couple, and we had the
okay.
bushes outside, but the neighbors.
Hmm.
But we wanted to buy a house, and Chris was like, should we get a condo? And I was like, I need a yard. We need a yard. I don't want to share walls with anybody. I don't, there's
I
too
want my
many people.
space. Yeah.
I want my space. I need space. And so he's like, oh, well, I guess, I mean, we might, we can't, I don't know if we could stay here, because, the prices, well, you're actually in like, you guys just surpassed LA as the priciest. Oh, because no, you're in Orange County.
Yeah.
Okay. San Diego took number one, Los Angeles,
Oh,
Orange
my
County.
hometown, out of boy, San
Yep.
Diego.
Yep. Oh no, it just moved right in number one spot, most expensive city in the
Wow.
country. Yep. Congratulations.
I worked
Uh,
very hard at that.
yeah, no, I know. So then I did a 19 city PowerPoint presentation last year.
That is so nerdy. What, like,
I know.
why, why only 19? Why not 27? Why'd you whittle it down to just 19?
Well, I thought it was 20. And then when I counted, I'm like, oh, there's only 19. I had to change some graphics. I didn't want to just add another city. I was like, we're gonna stick with 19. 20 sounds more reasonable, but we're gonna do 19. And I did 19 and not 27 because it's a lot of work. I was
I
like, if you
imagine.
don't like one of these 19 cities, tough titties. We're gonna have to read. So I did 19 cities, 7 different states. I did but I didn't put the state or the city on it. I just put the stats, the pictures, and the pros and cons. I saw somebody do that one time for their presentation. I thought that was brilliant.
Mhm.
So I did it and I presented it to the family. I said, hey, here's some cities that are a lot less expensive than LA. And most everybody in the family loved Georgia except for my sister-in-law, Chelsea. She liked the Pacific Northwest. So we went up to Seattle and guess what? Seattle's pretty expensive.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and gray, very gray, and not a lot of diversity. So, and then when we were in Tacoma and we checked out some houses, Chris physically couldn't stand in one of the rooms. So, we're like,
Details.
maybe Tacoma's not for us. And then we checked out Atlanta and we loved it. I said to Chris, we're going to Atlanta in August when it's hot and humid and
Mhm.
buggy and all the things that are not fun about it. We're going then. And we did, and we loved it.
And so were
Like,
you in the city of Atlanta or did you visit like the suburbs?
oh no, we went to the suburbs. We went out to
Okay.
Beaufort and then we went to all the suburbs around. Like we're about 40 miles outside of Atlanta. So we're not in like Atlanta or Atlanta proper. We're in the burbs.
Hmm.
We're in a cul-de-sac. We literally
I've seen your videos, but I mean
I know,
that's pretty like courageous to go like when it's like at the most of the like armpit like
yeah, swamp,
climate swamp
swamp,
and you're like, oh, this is still like what was it about the Atlanta area that attracted you guys so much?
Well, you know what? We liked how not like the neighborhoods were like neighborhoods. Like
Hmm.
the suburbs felt like a suburb. We were in Sherman Oaks, so just because you're in a suburb, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, stay away from that guy with a machete who's walking down the block. Maybe we should call the police. But also we loved how green everything was like green and clean, and Chris loved that there were um like the black community was so thriving and that's what he wanted to be around. He
Hmm.
wanted
He
to,
was tired of all the white people here. I get it.
yeah, yeah. It's, I mean, LA is diverse, but it's not like the South,
Hmm.
and little, he just loved being around that. And we also, the affordability, I mean, the gas prices, like we were going out to eat and we were like, oh my God, this is so cheap, And also he loved that the properties that we could get in the Pacific Northwest, you're on the higher end of our price
Hmm.
point, and also smaller spaces with closer, it just didn't have the space that you get out here. And so we were like, oh, we can actually get a yard, like a big yard with trees, and we can get a 4-bedroom house because we needed 4 bedrooms because he needed an
And
office
multiple bathrooms.
and multiple bathrooms. Oh my God, it's incredible. It's incredible. And a washer dryer. If you would have told 26-year-old Ro, you would be so happy to have a washer dryer living in the burbs. I,
I
I
mean,
would I would kill that person. I would be like, you get out of here. Who are you? Here I am, like, ooh, I'm in the burbs. I'm in the other living room. Chris is in the house. You don't even know that. He's
I can't
in,
even hear him. Yeah,
I know. It's amazing. This is amazing. I have a dining room. Look, we don't even use that dining room.
it's just for show. Yeah, it's just for when company comes over, you can pretend like you use it regularly.
Right? Nobody uses that. It's just there. It's
So
amazing.
you've been there like probably past the initial honeymoon period. I'm guessing like so.
It's 4 months.
Okay, well maybe yeah. The honeymoon period is 3 weeks and 6 days. So
Oh, is that okay?
yeah,
Good.
I did my research, bro.
Good. For
What?
marriage too? Is that for marriage?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's 17 years, I think. Um,
Okay.
I mean, right, sweetie? Oh, she's not. I don't have to be that nice. Um,
You're like, she's at work.
she's at work. Someone's got to pay for this electricity up here. It's definitely not this podcast. Um, but what's changed in your attitude? I mean, you obviously still are very happy. I've seen your videos where you talk about you used to listen to what, delivery trucks. Now you listen to birds. Like what? Kind of take us through when you first moved to Georgia to now.
Sure. Okay. So, as you know, I said I grew up in New York. Again, I grew up in the suburbs, but not like this. Like
Mhm.
suburbs meant you were able, it was walking distance. You were 20 minutes from Manhattan on a train ride. So it was a busy suburb. Same with Sherman Oaks in LA. It was a busy suburb. They were all busy suburbs.
Mhm.
This is like we moved here. We're on an acre. We have a forest in the back. It's literally there's deer.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's a cardinal couple that eat off of our bird feeder. There's like two houses on this cul-de-sac. I mean, I just saw the mailman. He, the mailman, he rips it through. He's just like, "Arr!" he's like your country mailman, like, you know.
Doesn't
I'm,
even slow down, just throws it like paperboy style.
yeah, oh yeah, he's just like whatever. Little, you're in a safe neighborhood if people have their last names on the door. They're like, oh, the Morgans. Like, who does that, right? And also, too, the other thing, it's like people wave in this neighborhood. People have,
Ew.
oh my God, they wave to you like, ah, there's like dog. They have no yard. People don't have like like they don't have fences, and they have dogs just chilling. I walk by this dog, this big white dog, just stands there, stares at me. He's got a pink bandana. I'm like, hey, what's up? Just stand there. Like, okay. I mean, there's just pets running around everywhere. It's it's literally like there's a tennis court, there's a fishing lake, there's no incidents on Citizen. If you look up Citizen in our town, no incidents. If you put in Reseda, it's like 412 incidents in the past 24 hours, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So since we moved here, I think I had to get used to like what was the one thing I had to really get used to was that I'm not bored. It's just peaceful,
Hmm.
right? Because everything changed. Like I literally went from like, I was doing spots, coaching students. The kids are always
Always
obviously
busy. Yeah. Yeah.
keep me busy, but I'm saying like it switched to like, oh, I have a house that I've got to take care of and get the kids acclimated. And I went back to like we went in December and January. It was cold. It was like 10 degrees. I was like, I am not going out there.
Yeah.
And also too, by the way, at nighttime, it gets really dark. Like I don't know what's out there. Like I don't need a raccoon jumping on my face. Okay. So it's like things that you have to kind of get used to, like being in a really quiet area and almost going like, oh, maybe I was so used to chaos. It's like takes a lot of adjusting to just be like, this is just a peaceful environment.
Hmm.
That was like my biggest adjustment
So
to like,
was that realization, Ro, like the reason you started your podcast?
yeah, I was like, oh, maybe I'm really just comfortable in chaos all the
Yeah.
time. Maybe we need to solve that first. Because I was like, now I'm like, what am I going to do with my life? I've been doing stand-up for 25 years, and going on the road isn't something I really want to do right now because of the kids. I've done the road, I've done a lot of road. So I'm like, I'm not looking to like move my kids to Georgia and be like, see ya, kids, I'll get you a nanny. So it's got to look a little different now. Like I
Yeah.
have to earn in a different way. I don't even know I don't know how to maneuver that. It's like this weird, like, what do you do when you've been doing something for 25 years and you don't know where to take it next?
You start a podcast.
Exactly. So that was the origin of the podcast.
Well, I remember years ago, Ro, you posted something that I was glad you did, because it talked about kind of putting pressure to like when you're young. I was guilty of this. You probably were too. You're like, oh, I'm going out once a night. That's cool. Then someone's like, no, you have to be doing like 3 shows a night. You're like, no, I have to do 17. Like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then I kind of view it as like at first I agreed with them because I was young and dumb, and
Yeah.
then it's like, no, it's a marathon, and then you're like, why am I trying to compare my life to these idiots? And it's like, so I mean, how has your mentality shifted? Like, because I know you still probably get up, but what is like your ideal amount of stage time these days?
Now shit, it's like, hi, I'm here. I'll go out. Yeah, how far is it? Okay. No, here's the thing. I agree, Maddie. I was the same way. When I tell you I had pride in like I'm out 7 nights a week.
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but if it's not a night with three spots, then it ain't a night. Like
Right.
literally like, oh my God, no wonder I'm exhausted 25 years later. Like I literally was like, no, you got to hustle, you stage time, stage time, stage time. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, and then you go on the road to Canada and you get stuck at the airport and you don't have anybody to call. Doesn't matter that you're stuck in the airport. You just got to get your shift covered at the restaurant you work at because you're a workaholic. So not only are you on the road 7 days a week, you also work a day job because you're like, God forbid you don't work,
Right.
right? So I remember I had that moment. It was 2012. I was in Canada. I was stuck. They're like, "Hey, we don't have a flight for you. You can't get back to LA till tomorrow." I'm like, "Okay." And then I was like, "I have no one to call, like to be like, oh, I'm not coming home." It didn't matter. I was like, "Hey, can somebody cover my shift?" Oh no. Okay. Once I land in America, I'll come into the restaurant. Like,
I'm in a
and
foreign country, stuck.
I was like, I'm in Canada, you guys. Like, and literally, I remember going into the restaurant that day and like, hey, where were you? I was like, Canada. And like, why are you here? I'm like, I don't know. Because
Like now cover table 12.
I was like, I don't have a life or a family, to tend to. And literally, like, and I took pride. There was a story that Seinfeld told on the documentary Comedian. Like, I don't know if you remember that story. It was like these four musicians were flying and their plane crash landed.
That's the
Remember?
life. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Or
And they
something
were
like
in
that.
the snow with their instruments. They came up to a house that had a warm fire and dinner on the table, and the family looked so happy. And he goes, God, how do people live like this? And they keep going. And I was like, that's right. That's not gonna be me. And you know what? It's pretty lonely, like exhausting and lonely after a while. So I think when I met Chris and it kind of gave me like this relationship to be like, hey, there's somebody that wants to spend time with you. It's okay to take a night off. I dabbled in the taking a night off every once in a while without a tremendous amount of guilt, right?
Mhm.
Like if I took that night off, it was because I was absolutely burnt out. And then I felt guilty for doing it. I don't think that that's how you have to live. I try to tell the people I coach now, like, it's okay to take a night off. It's okay to
Yeah.
take several nights off because for me, like, it had been a long time since I had been on stage. I had never taken that much time off. Even after I had the kids, I was up on stage as soon as I could. When I got on stage, I'm going to tell you the great thing about having all that behind me is that it had been, oh my God, Maddie, it had been like 2 months since I had been on stage and it was it was just, I
Mhm.
mean, it was so much fun. I did a half an hour. It was in South Carolina. It was so much fun. And then
There wasn't an accountant saying, God, it's been more than 6 weeks since your show. You're gonna suffer.
I know, no, I know. And now, like, I just did a show in Duluth a couple weeks ago, and same thing was just freaking awesome. And I booked a couple shows from that are happening in May, and then I was like, oh, I don't get to. It's not that I don't get to go out as much. It's what I choose to do. Like, where
Mhm.
can I put my time and energy that'll that'll benefit me into building something that's even bigger than what stand up is. Like I even when things take off and let's just say I got on this night show. Well, would I launch a 50 city tour? Absolutely not. I would launch a 12 city tour in a year.
Yeah.
One city a month. It's got
God
to have
bless
a
you.
theme park. Okay. Got to have a theme park and it's only a weekend. We're talking exclusivity.
One
Okay.
show a night too, not yeah.
That's it. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm hitting that tail end of the 40s. It's
Mhm.
like, it's a different type of, and that's okay. And I can get caught up. I will say that I haven't perfected not comparing myself. You know, I think I don't think that there's anybody that's like so zen that they might not get caught up in that. Now, do I
They'd
sit
be
in it?
super irritating if they exist, if that person exists.
Oh yeah, if I was like, oh no, I don't compare. And I'm
Yeah,
talking about people, I don't even their schedules. I'm like, that's exhausting to me. I already know it's exhausting. Why am I comparing myself? Who cares?
right.
Like God bless Matt Rife. You're on a 100 city tour in 3 months. God bless you. 27 years old. I could see. I used to think that was amazing. I got offered like, hey, do you want to do a tour? It's like 30 days. We're gonna hit up as many countries as we can. Sign me up. I was in my now. I'm sorry. I'm
Slow
sorry.
down.
Countries, like days? Where's where, so I have to allow myself to be okay with that kind of slowdown, which has
Yeah,
been kind of a challenge. That's been kind of the challenge I've been working on.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned pretty recently that you've been doing this roughly 25 years and you still enjoy it. And I remember when we started, there was always it was almost like cool to not like it or at least pretend, which I never I remember meeting Jay Davis and it was like he seems so happy and he's like and then I've talked to him now and he's like just as happy. Like yeah. And I really admire that. And I admire that about you, but what is it that keeps you from getting too salty and bitter and like too cool for school about stand up?
Oh, because I already was. Now I had my little bitter, I used to say like in LA, like, oh my God, if you try and attack me, I will kill you because I have so much bitterness and rage
Hmm.
inside of me from not
Yeah.
making it. But you know what I realized the other day is, well, one, getting out of LA for me was helpful because I do think that there is a certain, and I don't want people to come at me like, how could you about LA? I spent almost 20 years in LA,
Hmm.
and I think it's a fair assessment to say that there is a level of anxiety that LA operates on. It's
Very fair.
it's not LA's fault. It's literally there's so many things that are happening like between you Hollywood being this perception of like Hollywood, and then you get there and you're like, oh, is that a homeless guy pooping in the corner? Okay, great. And then there's SpongeBob who's been there for 40 years, like, hey, with a tattered suit, and you're like, this is my dreams, like to so many people there, everybody trying to keep up this facade of that they're somebody. And not everybody. I mean, I had some really great true friends in LA, still do, but I'm talking about a generalization of the people there. And also the prices are so like people, there's really no middle class there that you can really sustain because it's either you've got to the houses are $3 million, and I used to be like, just practice the secret, visualize. Well,
Yeah.
okay, fine, what?
I've been
Okay,
visualizing for 20 years.
okay, this comes the
Time for some
point.
manifestation. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if I've read enough books or watched
Yeah.
enough YouTube videos, but maybe we could, maybe we need to get out of here. And then, to be honest, coming to Georgia, people in this neighborhood, they're just cool, down earth, regular people, you
Hmm.
know. Everybody I found that everybody's been super nice, but it's also been kind of like this kind of like somebody was saying, if you're feeling like, oh, I don't know what to do, it's like that grieving of leaving such high levels of people are just operating like they're just surviving, they're just getting through in LA. Not everybody. Some people are like, I'm thriving. Well, good for you. I'm glad you're thriving. Also, by the way, did you drive past that sinkhole in Laurel Canyon? Because good thing you didn't fall in it. Okay. Like I saw a video of that woman that fell in the LA River, and literally my first thought when that helicopter was rescuing her, I was like, oh my God, that bill is gonna be so much. I was like, if that was me, I would have been like, hey, meet me at the LA Fitness on Coldwater and Chandler. Okay, that's where the river I'm just gonna float on over there. Just like I'm trying to go out for a girls' night out. Okay, well, it's like more than my car payment, Oh, this sushi's good. I need to send payments on Venmo, So getting out of there and like coming here and getting the space and the quiet and I think has helped with how I have to look at like what is it about my career? What do I want?
Hmm.
Where do I want it to go? And also, I think what happens with entertainment, this is just me, but if you, and comedy especially, is one of those careers that people don't perceive as you making it unless you're super famous.
Right.
They don't realize like there's so many comedians that are just working comedians that make a decent living that you might not know, that we know, that are
Hmm.
so good, right? But literally, if you're not on this level, then they're like, oh, like I had a
Well,
woman once say, oh, you do stand up? Good for you. Good for you. Would you say that to a doctor? Like,
yeah.
good for you, you know?
Yeah.
But so I had to kind of look at my, like, why do I look at my career as all these things like, oh, is it a failure? Well, no, I've had really great times. I've had experiences, knowledge. I've pitched shows, I've filmed shows, I've, been around the world, I've been around the country. I've met some really cool people and had some really great experience. I've been on the marquee, all those kinds of things.
Hmm.
And you know what? At the end of the day, you're still gonna go to sleep and you're still gonna wake up, God willing, and you're still gonna, nothing really changes like that. So I think that's something people don't realize about stand
Yeah.
up, or careers or things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think when people call someone a success, it's usually because that person's an actor and they can recognize them.
Yeah,
And like that's such a stupid way of defining like,
I
but
know.
you brought up a lot of interesting points about traveling and seeing your name in the marquee and just got the longevity you've had and you're always writing new stuff. Um, what is it career wise, Ro, that you're most proud of?
Uh, I think definitely anytime I perform for the military, you know, those men and women when they're like, thank you, and you're like, uh, thank you. Like you guys, like, first of all, I can't even do it more than 5 push-ups. I mean, I would just, this is, thank you. So those kinds of things. And I think one of the greatest accomplishments, this might sound small to people, but I remember after like 9/11, especially when we were doing shows, people would come up to us and just thank us for helping them get through what was such a sad part. Or when somebody comes up to me and goes, I needed to laugh. And there is something so powerful about laughter and feeling better, right? And that we're able to make people laugh and just maybe forget that shitty day they had or the shitty weeks that they had. And that to me is like the number one most amazing thing about stand up. Seriously. Like that's probably the greatest accomplishment that I could think of is like having somebody say, I needed to get out and have a laugh today. That
That
and that might not be a big deal to people, but that's a big deal to me.
I think it's a even bigger deal than a Jay Leno spot. So take
Yeah.
that, Leno. Uh,
I mean, the Tonight Show, yeah,
yeah, maybe Tonight Show. It's on
AGT,
par.
maybe, but if you've ever been in a park with a megaphone, then then you haven't done comedy. No, I
No,
mean,
you haven't. What are you most optimistic about?
that my kids won't need therapy.
They'd be
Let's
the only ones of their generation, if that's true.
We can only hope.
Can only hope.
You know what? Actually, I'm pretty optimistic that the projects I'm working on for myself, like my podcast and the content I'm putting out, and kind of some of the directions I want to go in as far as like focusing, like really just focusing more on my content that
Hmm.
I put out because I'm having fun with it and the podcast and instead of like, oh, I mean, I think it's incredible you wrote a book. Like that's amazing to me. when you think about it, what would you tell people to say? Just write, right? Just start writing,
Yeah.
pick a subject, start writing. So I was like, why don't we try it in a blog? And, like
Mhm.
that kind of thing. So those are kinds of the things, like, how can I earn in a new way with, like, now it's kind of taken, I don't need to prove it to anybody. I
Yeah.
just need to prove it to myself, like, oh, your content and your online work can definitely make, if not more money than your stand up, and like coaching in a different way, like coaching stand up, coaching business tools, coaching social media. Some people have suggested doing life coaching, like with the blocks that you have, like work on that. Um, doing, I don't mind also, I'm excited to do spots around here because they're a lot of fun.
Hmm.
And, um, but like in a sense of like a one nighter here, or, not like the hustle and bustle I was doing. Because it's it's great to, I mean, I sound like, it's great to get my fix, it's really fun to get that fix of doing stand up. But I also know that the people that I've gotten introduced to, oh, do you want to do this, do you want to drive here, and that the 3 hour drive in one night, I don't think I could
Yeah.
do as much anymore, not like I won't, but when some friends were like, oh, you could drive 7 hours down and do the spot, but it might not pay, like all those things, I don't think I'm interested in anymore. I'd rather just be like, okay, maybe I'll hit up the HOA and see if I could run a room in the clubhouse.
Probably make more, get some good contacts at the HOA. So, where can people learn more about you if they want to consume your content? They want to tell you their Jay Leno stories. Where can we funnel these people, Ro?
Oh. Well, if they don't ban me on TikTok, which I don't know if I'm gonna get banned, but I think it's because Jayla took my phone and started posting some TikToks, and then they were like, "Hey, you're underage," and I'm like, "No, I swear I'm not. I'm 45." And like, you got to prove it. And so I sent a face selfie, and they're like, "Oh, you're good." I'm like, anyway, I'm on TikTok under Mama Moody, aka DelleGrazie. I'm on Instagram under DelleGrazie or Mama Moody, and I'm on YouTube under DelleGrazie. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I just heard I should get on Snapchat again. I don't know. So maybe I'll check it out. I'm not on Twitter though. I mean, I am on Twitter, but I just refuse to. I don't like any social media that has to constantly say formerly known as Twitter on every article. Like, we get it. Um, so I'm not on there anymore. I am, but I'm
There's
bothered.
plenty of other platforms, right? Well,
There's
Ro,
so many other I'm on every platform except oh, I don't even think it's around anymore. I was on Periscope. Do you remember Periscope? It was around
vaguely, yeah,
a hot minute. But
yeah.
yeah, I think it got taken down after some girl like live streamed herself drunk driving and got arrested. And like, okay, we
Mm,
need to stop Periscope.
yeah. Settle down, Periscope. Ro, thank you for joining us. Please come back soon.
I
So,
will, for
all
sure.
right. Well, thank you for joining us and appreciate your time. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Matt Balaker podcast. To learn more, please check out mattbalaker.com and encourage your friends to like, subscribe, and share. Really appreciate it.